Hello everybody and welcome to the GT World Challenge Esports Asia Sprint Series third round from the beautiful Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli in Italy at 4.226 kilometres and 16 corners, located next to the town of Misano Adriatico in the province of Rimini. This is a challenging circuit for our Asia Series sprint drivers to negotiate for the next 60 minutes or so, and to help you through that journey will be myself, Paul Jeffrey, and I am delighted to welcome for the first time alongside me Mr. David Christie.
A very good day, Paul. What an exciting race we've got in store. A big drama for the championship, obviously halfway through the season. So much to talk about, but it really is all going to kick off today here in Italy.
Yep, it's a fantastic venue to go racing. As you say, as you rightly say, this is the halfway mark in a 5-round championship. We started back on May 20th at Brands Hatch, went to Zandvoort and now Misano, and these are the championship standings. Dayne Warren dominating the season so far with 2 perfect scores at the top of the championship. Fadhli Rachmat, consistency is key, winning 2 podiums, scoring 30 points to be 20 adrift at the top of the standings. And our reigning champion for Legion of Racers, Andika Rama Maulana, on 28 after a disappointingly difficult time last time out of Zandvoort. So watch out for Rama Maulana during the course of this race, as he's got points to make up in the championship fight. Nakib Aslan in 4th position for Axel Sports, another Bentley driver. Note 3 Bentleys in the top 4 championship positions, so that'll be fascinating to see if the big Continental GT3 is still the car to have here at Misano, a very different circuit than last time out of the Zandvoort Grand Prix track. Dylan Tan in 5th position ahead of Kelvin Chen in the Porsche, the faster of the Porsches in the field so far. Andrew Lawrenson for Laundry House had a disappointing weekend at Brands Hatch, recovered somewhat last time at Zandvoort, and will be another one of those drivers that we need to watch out for as the championship progresses. Don't forget we score points down into 10th position, and don't forget that the top 5 drivers from the previous race are allowed into the next one automatically. Everybody else has to complete a hot lap qualification process. So David, it is a real high pressure championship, this one, isn't it?
It certainly is, and with Dayne Warren making an excellent start to the championship, the pressure really is on Fadhli Rachmat and Andika Rama Maulana to get the proverbial engine going, catch those points back up, because 25 points towards the end of the season, that is going to make a heck of a lot of difference already. And with just a couple of races to go, it all comes down to today. They need to get going, and they need to get going now.
They do indeed. So let's have a look who we're going to be looking at today in the course of this third race. So Sudika in the IR Esports Ferrari GTE is another driver that we've seen plenty of this season. Sergei Mironenko as well for Laundry House returns in the beautiful Honda NSX GT3 Evo. Moreno Pratima for Legion of Racers represents Audi with the R8 LMS GT3 Evo. He is number 18, so watch out for Pratima, should be another very fast driver. Luis Moreno, once again, Legion of Racers, well represented in this championship. The same team, of course, that last year's champion Andika Rama Maulana drove for last season as well, so another very competitive powerhouse somewhat in this championship. Javier Life, Legion of Racers, also there. We see Nigel Chua, Lifestyle Motorsports, Mercedes AMG. Great to see the German Mercedes brand on the grid once again, so another driver, very competitive. Expect to see him running around in the points scoring positions, potentially at the close of this race. Dayne Warren, our championship leader, returns for the beautiful VRS Coanda Simsport team. We have got a couple of Honda NSX represented on the grid, as well as the Lexus RCF GT3. Great to see those cars taking part today. Fadhli Rachmat, that we saw earlier, JMX Phantom Bentley Continental, second in the championship. We'll be looking for another good score here today. Terry Rayton for Laundry House, another one of the Mercedes AMG cars. Laundry House running a number of marks under their banner in this championship, so fascinating to see what learnings each of those drivers can carry over to their teammates' car and different manufacturer. Kelvin Chen full-pace racing team Porsche 911 GT3R as well is on the grid. Andika Rama Maulana that we spoke about there in the 889 for Legion of Racers. Mia Rose returns for Jean Alesi Esports Academy. Mia, one of our female racers on the grid, one of our two female racers alongside Philippa Bakida for Octane Online Racing. Once again represented a McLaren 720S GT3. Lachlan Nichols for Gen Z Racing that we saw there. Ryan Houlihan returns for Laundry House, this time in a McLaren. Yaplam Law for Wacko's Flip Table Racing BMW. And Andrew Lawrenson, another car, another Laundry House in the Porsche 911 GT3. And something that we spoke about before, David, in previous broadcast, I want to talk to you a little bit about today as well, is how wonderful it is to shine a spotlight on the Asia region drivers that don't necessarily get the opportunity to take part in some of the more mainstream European-focused championships. And we've seen some real breakout stars last year and, of course, this season as well, haven't we?
We certainly have, and again, it's nice to expose the audiences here in Europe to different, the different scenes. So for the likes of the Asian contingent, there's a huge contingent down in South Africa. All around the world, it's just fantastic to see that we're able to shine that spotlight and give a little bit of highlight to some of these drivers as well. And we see that with the viewing figures and the support in chat. It's just fantastic to see, Paul, and they're really, really enjoying seeing all of these drivers.
Yeah, it really is. It's fantastic to see a whole new wave of potential future esports stars. And of course, that's thanks to our partners. It's thanks to SRO and their great esport competitions that run in America, the British Series, the European and Endurance Championships as well, for AK Esports as well, and for Amazon, AWS and Pirelli as well. The great partners, great championship, great initiative, and it continues to cement the ever-growing strength of esport racing across the board. And would you have thought, David, sort of 3-4 years ago that we'd have so many races at such a high level? It's fabulous to see and be a part of, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Paul, and we're both old people when it comes to the sim racing world. Where I started my sim racing journey back in the early 2000s on Live for Speed, and if you told me that 15, 16 years later we were going to have televised broadcasts on sim racing, it was going to be over like 10 different platforms, and you were going to have tens of thousands of people all across the world taking part, I would have laughed in your face. And I love it. I love where we are with esports. I love this community that we've built up here. I love the broadcast, and it's just exceptionally humbling to be part of that, Paul.
Yeah, it really is. Really well put there. And let's move on now to the race itself. So anybody that's watching for the first time an SRO competition, first and foremost, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming to join us. To give you an idea of what we've got ahead of us, this is a 60-minute race. There will be a mandatory pit stop. That will be through a pit stop window that opens about 35 minutes to go into the event. In that 10 minutes, every driver must go down pit road. They must add, at a minimum, 1 litre of fuel. They don't have to change tyres, but they must serve that pit stop. And that opens up some strategy, which, David, here at Misano, it's a long track in terms of length, 4.2 kilometres is about average, but it's a very tight and twisting track, and drivers on different strategies and traffic as well are very likely to play a part, aren't they?
They certainly are. Strategy is going to be a huge deciding factor in today's race. Tyre wear isn't going to be so much of a factor here, despite it being a very twisty and sort of high intensity track on the acceleration and deceleration. But you're right, it's going to be lap traffic, it's going to be last minute strategy calls and diving into the pits at the last possible second that's going to throw up a number of spanners for these drivers today.
Yes, it is. It's going to be a fantastic race, and qualifying is always important in motorsport, but never more so than a tight track like this one. And we've only got a 15-minute qualifying session that's taken place in the background while we've been jabbering on to you about all things virtual motorsport. So it'll be critical for these drivers to get a good time, to get a clean lap, and to get as higher up position on the starting grid as they possibly can. Because if, like we said already, you get bogged down in traffic, and it's very difficult to overtake. Just look at Andika Rama Maulana from the last race at Zandvoort. Had a poor qualifying, spent the entire race recovering and took himself completely out of race victory contention. So it's fascinating to see how the drivers cope with that kind of pressure, David, as well, isn't it? Where you've got to hit your marks exactly right at exactly the right time and have a fair dose of good luck as well.
Absolutely, and the other thing that gets me as well is that a lot of spectators who are maybe new to esports and sim racing in general might look at it and think, well, they're just sitting for an hour playing games, and I absolutely assure you this is one of the most taxing and exhausting ways you can spend an hour, perhaps even more so for the likes of Sergei Mironenko from Laundry House in the Honda. I did notice on the screen there with the cameras, he's actually in VR for this one. So an hour's race in VR is one of the most intense things that you can imagine, especially as we start the race at 10 p.m. at night here. He is going to be one very, very exhausted young man at the end of this.
He is indeed, so let's have a look at the grid. Dylan Tan is our pole position man ahead of Philippa Bakida in P2. Championship leader Dayne Warren lines up third on the grid in the number 57 Bentley, ahead of Fadhli Rachmat in 4. Ryan Houlihan for Laundry House on your screen now in the number 999 McLaren is 5th on the grid. Bahar in the number 24 Sister McLaren rounds out the third row of the grid ahead of Huang in the second of the Ferraris, the number 118 Ferrari. We've seen a little bit up and down in terms of pace this season, so it'll be great to see how that car progresses. The number 911 is Andrew Lawrenson for Laundry House. Again, Laundry House, as we said, running the famous old March livery across a number of marks. Lawrenson is just ahead of Siley in 9th position for the Lamborghini team. Andika Rama Maulana, second race in a row, poor qualifying, lines up 10th on the grid with to do. Row 11, Kevin Chen ahead of Pratima in the Audi R8 LMS GT3 that you're looking at on your screen at this moment in time. Kim is 13th position ahead of Yang in the Bentley Continental number 12 that you see there, camouflage livery at night time. Will that play to his advantage? We will find out in a short while's time. Woods is number 56 and 15th on the grid ahead of Nigel Chua in the number 25 Mercedes-Benz P16. Terry Rayton, disappointing qualifying for the Laundry House Mercedes driver, in 17th position. Our second female racer in the beautiful, if I do say so myself, Aston Martin AMR V8 Vantage lines up in 18th place. Aslan P19th ahead of a newcomer to the series, a Honda NSX GT3 Evo, the number 60 of Madison, lining up 20th place, just ahead of Nichols in 21st position. In 22nd on the grid, don't forget we've got a full grid of 45 cars here today, is Kwatube in the Honda NSX GT3 Evo. Kinlong Lee in the Mercedes AMG is 23rd on the grid. Ryan Duong in 24th for the Lexus RCF GT3, just ahead of Yin Ho and Takuma and Andre Abzeke in a trio of Aston Martins that we see on the grid. So Aston Martin once again struggling for a little bit of the ultimate pace. They're just ahead of 28th position lie in the Lexus. Osaki 29th. Sergei Mironenko that we spoke about earlier, rocking virtual reality today, has had a very disappointing qualifying in the Honda. He's 30th on the grid in the Laundry House car, number 7, that you just see on your screen there. Laplam Law, a driver that we've seen plenty of drama from this season, takes 31st position in qualification. In 32nd is Isaac Norman in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Chotimer in 33rd. Fei Cheng for the Audi R8 LMS Evo 34th. Shaquille in 35th. We saw him last time out at Zandvoort, providing plenty of drama. Luis Moreno for Lexus, a little bit disappointing, down in 36th position, so plenty of work to do for Luis Moreno. Keep your eye out for him in the number 21. Chang in the BMW M6 GT3 ahead of Nabil, Panchida, Yanzi, Maybury and Ming Wong, all new names to the championship, rounding out the back of the grid as the cars drop off their jack. 24 seconds to go, the lights are ablaze, and we are going to go racing in what will be our first night race of the season, David. So another little twist in the sting in the tail, so to speak.
It's going to be fascinating to watch, and as Omaris Boomeradi says in our YouTube chat, 45 cars on track together on a tight, twisty circuit here at Misano. Paul, what could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely nothing. It will be glorious. Yeah, there's a saying very, very well known in motor racing, and I think it so very much applies today, is you cannot win the race in the first corner, but you most certainly can lose it, and our drivers will do very well to keep that in the forefront of their mind as they power away from the rolling start in a few minutes' time, won't they?
They absolutely will, and just want to point that out. Actually, let's have a little think about that, because Fadhli Rachmat and Dayne Warren start in P3 and P4, not on the front row of the grids. They're starting on row 2 beside each other. I think that is going to be potential for massive fireworks going into to turn 1. Rachmat has the opportunity, has probably one of the best opportunities to get the whole shot, get the car up into turn 1, and be challenging Dylan Tan and Felipe Bukida.
Absolutely, and it'll also be fascinating as well. Bukida, we know, is a very, very fast racer. The Octane Online Racing driver, scoring points last time out at Zandvoort, but we've seen her at the forefront of the championship for a couple of years now. But Dylan Tan, we've never really seen him this competitive in the series, so how is he going to fare when he's got a race victory on the line, when he's got the championship protagonist right behind him? He'll be desperate for the result as well, and all this you've got to filter into the psyche of a driver, haven't you, that it's not just the race in isolation, but it's the bigger picture that goes around it, and wanting to set the impression, and also really, in terms of Dylan Tan, kickstart your championship as well. He's 5th at the moment, but he's only got 12 points to his name from Brands Hatch.
And that brings on to another point as well, because we're only 2 rounds completed in this championship, but essentially, I mean, that has such a huge implication for these remaining rounds. Dylan Tan now needs to win almost every single race to be competitive, and he's put himself in the best possible position, qualifying on pole position. But you've also then got to look at the 889 of Andika Rama Maulana, qualifying in 10th position in a field this strong. That is a very, very tall order for the Legion of Racers machine to undo that damage in 10th place. Got no doubt they will definitely get themselves further up, but I mean, it's not exactly how you want to start your race off, is it?
No, it's another recovery drive for Andika Rama Maulana for sure, as now the cars are starting to line up 2 by 2. Anybody familiar with this championship will know we have rolling starts in the SRO Esports Championship 2 by 2, just as the animals are on Noah's Ark as they come round now. The final corner, I believe this is, looking for the start-finish straight lights, which will be red at the top of the gantry. When they go green, the engines get loud and the racing begins. We're riding on board. That is Felipe Bukida. You see her on the picture as well. On the inside of the last corner, they'll be outside of turn 1. Ready to go racing here in the GT World Challenge Esports Asia Sprint Series Round 3 from Misano. We're looking at those lights. They're currently red. When they go green now, we are go 45 cars charging down into the opening corner of the night here in Italy. On the inside line is Dylan Tan. He runs a little bit deeper in the corner. That opens the door for Bukida. Bukida around the outside of the left-hander. She runs out of space. Dylan Tan just about retains his position. Somebody facing the wrong way. A little bit further down the running order. Cars running wide off of the racing service, but Dylan Tan retains that pole position into a race lead. Felipe Bukida, a spirited attack in the opening few corners, but not enough to wrestle the lead away from our pole position man. But Bukida on her toes now in the McLaren, looking like she's trying to find a way past the big Bentley as everybody streams down in a T5. The opening corners, drama aplenty throughout the field.
Oh wow, this is great stuff, and Bukida's got a run now on Warren. They're almost side by side. Bukida has to back out of it, thinks again, and this is exactly what you want to do. This is the sort of start you want. You want to see all of the cars keeping it on for the first couple of corners. The adrenaline's high, the emotions are really, really pushing everyone through as we see cars further back. And I've got to be honest, Paul, to have at least 40 cars surviving that opening lap, touching every part of this wooden desk that I possibly can, I mean, this is a fantastic, fantastic barometer for the quality of racing that we're going to have through this race.
Yeah, it really is. Great driving from a lot of the field there. We saw a few people running wide, just maximising the full real estate available here at Misano to keep themselves out of trouble. We saw a car further down the running order facing the wrong direction as well. We'll look into who that is a little bit later on as we're looking now at Ryle Dong, the roadblock number 281 Lexus RCF. Beautiful GT3 car. Very rare to see that one in competition, actually. So we'll see how Ryan gets on at the moment. Looking at the inside, into T1, not quite enough space, goes over the sausage curves as well there, does Ryan Dongan, runs a little bit deep as well. That puts him under pressure from lie behind in the fellow Lexus. So again, this track at Misano, if you make a half-measure overtaking manoeuvre, you make yourself vulnerable for getting involved in further contact or losing positions from some of your rivals as this fight for 23rd continues to rage on. But I'd like to have a look at the front of the field now to see how Bakida currently, as Dayne Warren is the race leader, and Dylan Tan, I thought that was a anomaly of the timing screen, but Dylan Tan down in 17th position. So David, I'm not quite sure what happened there. We missed it on the broadcast, but Dylan Tan not having the start that we thought he did originally.
He got turned.
Well, I think it's possibly going to have been contact with him and Felipe Bakida earlier on there that's put him all the way down there into 17th place. And talk about being fed to the wolves. That is not where you want to be after that great start all the way down. But how has Dayne Warren managed to do that? Pulled the rabbit out the hat and got himself up into the lead. And more importantly, he's got nobody around him that is really a championship contender right now. So fantastic to see that. And Rachmat is completely off the timing screens as well. So yeah, what a start for Dayne Warren. And this is huge championship implications with 56 minutes left to go in the race.
Yeah, this is exactly what Dayne Warren needed. I'm still reeling and trying to understand how I could have looked at the screen yet seen nothing and missed all of that one. So apologies to everybody at home getting excited about things that aren't actually happening. As Dayne Warren, race leader, Felipe Bakida in second position. Ryan Houlihan had a great start up in a third. So McLaren 2, 3 and 4. Lawrenson in fifth position. So two Laundry House cars now running at the sharp end of the grid. Andika Rama Maulana, third place in the championship, reigning champion, started 10th, and all the drama managed to shuffle himself up into P6. But at the moment, the action, the intention, the excitement is focused on this lady here, Felipe Bakida, looking for a big result, putting our championship leader under pressure, and Bakida needs to make this stick, needs to stay on the back of the Bentley. We know that Warren is a very fast driver. Bakida, she shadows him, starts pulling a bit of a gap from the chasing pack, and then looks for an opportunity further into the stint will be the key to success as we're riding on board now with Abrazeke in 24th position.
Paul, Fadhli Rachmat is down in 35th. I just cannot believe what on earth has happened there, and you've got to believe that unless that undoes that incident, that's going to have huge championship implications. I mean, and from what I'm hearing from from our broadcast team, very likely to get a penalty of some sort for a very, very dangerous rejoin. Now, we heard it from our broadcast team in our ears when it actually happened, so I believe it was a lap 1 incident for Rachmat. But I mean, that just I'm absolutely speechless.
Yeah, that blows the doors open on this championship, as we said earlier. Dayne Warren, championship leader, started third, got the race lead. Felipe Bakida, very fast that we've seen her this season, but hasn't put the points on the board that she would have been hoping for. So she's not really in contention, and we have to look all the way down into 6th position for the next of the championship challengers. This could not have fallen any better for Dayne Warren if he tried. Andika Rama Maulana that we're looking at now in a bit of a gaggle of cars has been held up by the Laundry House Porsche of Andrew Lawrenson ahead. So we know that Maulana is a fast driver. We know that he can recover from poor qualification sessions, and it's so far at this stage in the race, 6 minutes on the clock. He has got the opportunity to start moving forward, but for a championship, for Dayne Warren it's fantastic, but for us at home this is the worst case scenario possible, because Warren, don't forget, is already 20 points to the good, and as you say, Fadhli Rachmat nowhere to be seen.
Oh, and Bakida's had an incident. She's went wide. I think that was turn 4. Thankfully, gets recovered down to P8 there. But yeah, Felipe Bakida, I think, was maybe just pushing that car a little bit too hard there. It looked like it's one of those things that the McLaren very prone to doing, that snap oversteer when you get it right to that sort of 98-99% of the limits of adhesion with that car. And yeah, I'm hoping that Felipe can make her way back through, but that car looking a little bit twitchy, Paul.
Yeah, Bakida, little mistake. big consequences and drama. This race is serving up drama, and we're not even 10 minutes in at the moment. Avila Bahar, currently in the JMX Phantom, number 24 McLaren, inherits the bottom step of the podium. Ryan Houlihan just ahead in the Laundry House car. Great to see Ryan back at the sharp end of the grid. Another driver that we know plenty about. We know he's fast, but the cards have just not fallen his way. And Bakida gets a drive-through penalty. So Philippa Bakida's day goes from bad to worse. Drops to 8th on the grid. Dropped to 8th in the field, and now has to serve a drive-through penalty. That will not count towards a mandatory pit stop as well. That will be an additional run down pit lane. So Bakida will be furious about how these last couple of minutes of competition have played out. As we're looking now at Kelvin Chen, number 117 for Full Pace Racing Porsche, 11th place at the moment. One more place and that'll be into the championship points.
Paul, I'm going to make an uneducated guess here, but to see Felipe Bakida getting a drive-through penalty and to see Dylan Tan magically disappearing from the lead there, I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and hopefully not get 5 there and say that it could be potentially have been contact on that opening couple of laps there. So gutting to see that, but it's a bad day going from bad to worse. Just had that confirmed from our broadcast team. It is an incident on lap 1 involving cars 144 and 326. That is Felipe Bakida and Dylan Tan. Drive-through penalty for avoidable contact. So you hate to see it, but rules is rules, Paul, and it's unfortunately ruined Dylan Tan's race as well.
Yeah, real shame. Two of the drivers that we were most looking forward to seeing performing out on track today, out of contention at this stage, but of course there are 51 minutes and 24 seconds remaining, so never say never. There's still plenty of racing ahead of them. But if Bakida, after that incident and also now the drive-through penalty, that moves Rama Maulana into 5th position. Bakida will of course drop way outside of the point scoring places, so this is in effect a fight for 9th position, although it's 10th on track.
Brilliant start to the race, and we've still got 50 minutes left to go, and it's just awesome, and I'm really excited to see how this goes through, because let's remember as well, Paul, this isn't in the bag. You know, I've seen it so many times in Assetto Corsa Competizione where a mistake or a problem and everything could be thrown upside down for Dayne Warren.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we spoke a little bit off air before the broadcast started about the traffic situation as well. Misano is a very tight track. It's very difficult to overtake, and especially now we've got nighttime conditions as well, it becomes all the more complicated for the drivers to see who's on the lead lap, who they're racing with, who they're letting go. As soon as we start getting the slower traffic into the situation, the drivers such as Warren and Houlihan at the head of the field, they'll be the first ones to wake up these drivers to the fact that the race leaders are closing in on them. And with the field so tight it is in a championship like this, you only need to be bolt for 1 or 2 corners and suddenly everything is on its head, as we're looking now at a replay. So this is Tan in the Motul sponsored Legion of Racers Ferrari on the inside, coming down into T1. We see that is Bakida around the outside. Tag goes deep, we call that in the live pictures, and then just as it comes to the left hander, Bakida goes around the outside. We suggest that she ran a little bit wide, but actually there's 2, 3, 4 pieces of contact that spins around the Ferrari driver avoiding contact behind is the rest of the field. So that's why we saw a lot of people out onto the dirt, and then one of the Bentleys gets turned around in the ensuing melee, which is to be expected when so many cars are checking up and avoiding each other. And David, that was unfortunately a case of two very wide GT3 cars trying to be in the same piece of tarmac at the same time, and sadly the laws of physics suggest somebody has to lose out.
Yeah, that is very, very unfortunate to see that. I'm surprised actually to see Dylan Tan lost that place so early on, because obviously from the excitement of the start, we just presumed that Dylan Tan was still in the lead at about 8-9 corners into the race there. So yeah, look, that's as clear-cut a penalty as you're actually going to see here, and it is what it is. The dust will settle and the cars will recompose themselves. Still 45 minutes left to go to get the best possible result out of this, and like I say, it's by no means over. And I mean, look at Dylan Tan already up into P16. That is that's a decent recovery drive there. So behind Mia Rose, that's not going to be an easy overtaking opportunity, if at all. But I mean, coming back to the here and now, Avila Bahar just behind that 999 of Houlihan, and this is a nice, tasty little battle going on here. But I did, Paul, just very quickly want to point out the fact that Dayne Warren, the pace that he has got right now is absolutely absurd. It's unmatched. There's nobody else out there showing the same pace. 133.6, 133.7, 133.3. I mean, it is just consistent lap after lap in the 133s, and everybody else right now doing 134s.
Yeah, this is a typical VRS Coanda performance, isn't it? Get to the front of the field, get your head down, start pumping in those laps, break the opposition, break the toe. Just put yourself in a position where you've got a little bit of a comfort zone, a little bit of wiggle room, where you can afford a slower stop, you can afford to not be quite as aggressive when it gets to the traffic, or not as aggressive on the curbs. And then everything just snowballs when your life becomes a little bit easier, you've got a little bit less pressure, you're driving a little bit freer as well. And as we've seen already, the fight for second position becomes more and more intense, and while those two McLarens are squabbling over the same piece of tarmac, then we've just seen Dayne Warren further extend his lead. And honestly, if Dayne could have written the script at the start of this race, he could not have written it for himself better than what we've seen in the first 15 minutes of racing, could he?
He absolutely couldn't have, because he's got Ryan Houlihan and Avila Bahar behind him, and the great thing is that he can set these cracking lap times and not have to worry about it, because these two are fighting with themselves. They're losing at least half a second a lap over your race leader of Dayne Warren. Championship wise, I mean, I don't know what he's done, if he's done a rain dance or if he's prayed to his appropriate deity, but everything has just worked out so well for him in the first 15 minutes. But I mean, like say, Paul, how often have we seen this? How often have we seen, a wonderful start, and all it takes is, say, a drive-through for track limits or a penalty, and it completely changes the complexion of the race.
And you actually, David, make a very good point there. We do have live stewards in this race that review and assess incidents on track, but also the simulation software itself is responsible for cut track penalties. You can cut the corner, you can cut the track outside of what is acceptable racing bounds 3 times. Time number 4, a drive-through penalty will be automatically awarded for you. Now at Misano, for anybody who's not raced on here, knows curb is your friend. You need to monster the curbs to be fast, as Avila Bahar now trying to find a way past Ryan Houlihan ahead. So Bahar in the JMX Phantom car, the number 24 at the back of the shot, seems to have the turn of pace ahead, with Ryan Houlihan ahead now. So can Bahar find a way past the Laundry House driver, or will he hold station for another 10 minutes just under for when the pit window opens? We'll find out. But just going back to my point again, you need to monster the curbs to be fast, so you're always dancing the dance between getting the penalty and getting the fastest line possible. And I suspect, I'm going to future predict now, that before the close of this race we'll see a slurry of penalties handed out to the drivers for just that reason, taking too many liberties with the outskirts of the racing surface. Yeah,
100% you will see a plethora of them, and I think the most at risk right now is Avila Bahar in that third position, trying to chase down Ryan Houlihan. Ryan just needs to stick to his line. He's got the pace, he's doing 134.6s, they were doing 134.2s, but again you can see Ryan immediately going defensive defensive, moving to that left-hand side. But ideally, you want to be over to the right-hand side for that tight left-hand hairpin as the car brings itself out here. So again, Avila really is going to push and push and push and maybe try and take a little bit of curb more than they actually can. And again, the McLarens, depending on the way that these cars are set up, prone to that snap oversteer. So while you want to take as much curb as you possibly dare, it's again about how much the car will allow you before spitting you off into the nearest available barrier. But Avila doing a cracking job here, keeping all the pressure on Ryan Houlihan while Dayne Warren streaks off into the sunset, almost 10 seconds clear, and we're 15 minutes into this race.
Incredible scenes here at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli Baja, while he's fighting with Houlihan, that's allowing this gaggle of cars to start closing down slowly but surely onto that second position. Andrew Lawrenson at the front of his shot that we're looking, riding on board with Andika Rama Maulana, the Legion of Racers Ferrari 488 GT3. Currently in fifth position, he's got Hong and his sister Ferrari just behind him, and Prattimer as well in seventh place. So while the fight rages at the front of the field, excluding Dayne Warren, of course, who's in a race of his own at the moment, these two are closing. Now, will we see a little bit of team play involved? There are two Laundry House cars in second and fourth position. Will Lawrenson recognise the fact that his teammate is in a little bit of strife and start lowering the pace a little bit so this fight doesn't start to close up to them? Or will the opposite apply? Will he try and close up now as Milano looks to the inside, not quite got enough of a run in the Ferrari, but will Lawrenson close up to put Baja under pressure to allow Houlihan to start going a little bit more attacking and not quite as defensive? And I really do love motor racing, and this is going to turn out, this smells of drama in the next 15 minutes, doesn't it?
It's brewing up nicely is how I would put that. I tell you what, I'm very, very surprised to see Mia Rose getting passed by Dylan Tan. Mia very, very fast and a lot of pace in that car. In fact, just as I say that, she's taking the place back from Dylan Tan in that 144 Ferrari. So a bad day, really not working out too well, because getting caught up in a battle with someone like Mia Rose is just going to lose that recovery momentum that you're taking there. And momentum is actually a key word here at Misano, because you need to have as much pace as you possibly can. And not only has Dylan lost a position, but it looks like Mia has actually gapped him quite considerably there. So there you go, an instant on lap one involving cars 45 and 7. That is, of course, the 7 of Sergei Mironenko. We see Sergei actually no longer in the race. He's in the pit lane just now, and Krankrai Shotima in the BMW M6. It's a drive-through for car 45 for avoidable contact. So it sounds like that number 7 car has been essentially nuked from orbit there, Paul.
Yeah, poor old Sergei Mironenko, never far away from a little bit of drama in this series, and it seems to have struck once again for the Laundry House under an SX driver. So Mironenko in pit road, probably out of the race now, as we're looking again at Andika Rama Maulana. Remember, this is a driver that started 10th on the grid, moved up to 6th due to all the shenanigans that occurred earlier in the race, inherited another position due to the issues that we saw for Filippa Bakina and the drive-through penalty. So Rama Maulana's having a good race of it regards his result, but he needs to start overtaking cars on track. He needs to find another couple of tenths of a second in his back pocket if he's to get on equal terms with Andrew Lawrenson in the Laundry House car ahead. Meanwhile, Avila Baja now we're looking as we're riding the picture there. Look at the concentration on his face. Look at the focus as he's trying to find a way past the McLaren. The same car ahead of him, different team, different setup, different experience level, of course, but broadly speaking, he'll know what that 720S is capable of. He'll be fast in the same parts of his rival. He'll be slow in the same parts of his rival. As a driver, that's an incredibly difficult scenario in which to find yourself in, because then you've got to force the issue a little bit more. And David, we're only 4 minutes and change away from the pit window opening, so put yourself in Avila Baja's shoes. Are you going to attack and find a way past on the racetrack, or do you do something different when the pit window opens?
I think you try and do something different, but Ryan Houlihan, I think, has the match of Avila Bahar right now. Avila did have that early stint where the tyres were nice and they were grippy and had the pace to try and get past him, but Ryan more than capable of outpacing him through that early stint there. So quite honestly, I think he could be Avila Bahar and throw literally the kitchen sink, and I don't think it's going to be enough to get past Ryan Houlihan. I could be and have been often quite wrong, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Cracking little battle down for 9th and 10th right now. This is Sky Lai trying to catch onto the back of the 56 of Damon Woods in that Merc, and the Lamborghini looking very, very fast here. Paul, just wanted to touch on something that I saw from Avila Bahar. We mentioned how esports and sim racing has come along, and it brought to me looking at Avila's setup there. I mean, that must easily be, about £2,500 worth of sim gear there, and it's a far cry from the back in the day on our little Logitech Momos, isn't it?
It is indeed, and that's the thing. There's so much hardware and software available now, as we see Kevin Chen actually falling down the order. So Chen in pit lane, the pit window's not open, so that is an unscheduled stop for Kevin Chen, 19th on the timing stream, but expect him to drop a little bit further down the order. And as you say, there's such a wealth of different hardware, and just going back to what we spoke about at the top of the show as well, about how sim racing has progressed leaps and bounds in recent years. Fanatec, a very well-known German hardware provider of sim racing gear, sponsor this series in the real and virtual world, as well as Skyline loses a position to Aslan there. So Aslan makes his way past in the big old Bentley. Lai drops down into 10th position on track. But yeah, you've got brands like Fanatec now recognised in the real world and the virtual world as a key player, and it just solidifies again, doesn't it, that sim racing and esports racing is something that's only going to get bigger and bigger. Now as Lawrenson leaves the door open, that's open for Andika Rama Maulana, goes straight through, thank you very much. A little bit of contact from Heinz as well, side by side in the sister Ferrari. Wang manages to keep the car on the straight and narrow, but Andrew Lawrenson opened the door, and that was no second invitation needed. Andika Rama Maulana throws the Legion of Racers Ferrari down the inside, and we said he needs to make the move on the track. Maulana obviously listening on the broadcast as well as driving at speed, takes that advice and runs with it, 4th position. Next up, bottom step of the podium, and Avila Bahar in 3rd place.
Yeah, and that move was coming for a while. Andrew Lawrenson, again, you can see trying desperately to catch up to the back of that Ferrari. And do you know what? This might not be over yet, but what he needs to do is just take a breath, calm himself down a little bit, especially when you're in VR, Paul. It becomes overwhelmingly intense. You're so focused on trying to catch back up and undo the damage of that, but very easy in these next couple of laps to overdrive the car, burn through the tyres and get yourself a little bit of a flat spot, or even worse, a drive through 4-track limits. He's doing a cracking job as Andrew right now in that 911, keeping it very, very secure in the top 10. Just needs to keep the pace up, and he can securely hold on to that. We've got the pit stops coming up very, very shortly, but it does look like Rama Maulana in that 889 Ferrari kind of uncorked right now. He's able to stretch away a gap of about a second already in the space of about 8 corners. So yeah, just needs to calm down, breathe a little bit. Wang making a little bit of a mistake there. I noticed that you mentioned about our driver in 10th place there, that is dropping down the order there. That I think that was actually a little bit of a contact there with Nakib Aslan that we saw earlier on. That is why we saw that driver dropping down the order there. We've got a time penalty coming in for the number 77 there. That is Yugo Osaki in the Honda NSX there, and that is going to be a penalty. It was Chen actually that was hit by Nakib Aslan earlier on a couple of minutes ago. But Paul, pit window open, strategy comes into play here.
Right, now's the time, ladies and gentlemen, to get your thinking and observation caps firmly placed onto your head. This is the opening of the mandatory pit window. 10 minutes, several drivers you see on the screen immediately jump down pit road. Dylan Tan being one of that cohort as well, to try and get that stop served as early as possible, get themselves out into a little bit of free air. And push, while everybody else is still out on circuit, potentially getting held up by their rivals or by lap traffic. Now, again, to talk to you a little bit about sim racing and how it's grown and how this championship has expanded, the vast majority, if not every single one of these drivers, will have an engineer in their ear. Somebody who's got an overview of where people are on the circuit, is giving advice on how to get the best possible strategy available and executed. So they'll be looking for gaps to drop cars into. When I say that, they'll be looking for a bit of clean racetrack that their driver can come back out of the pit lane and push to their absolute maximum limits. We're looking at Mia Rose, who's doing exactly that in the Jean Alesi Esports Academy, Aston Martin, and this is where it gets fascinating now. So some of the drivers further down the order have pulled the pin straight away because they've got nothing to lose. They're outside of the points, do something different. But at the front of the field, we have seen driver Skyline now coming straight down pit lane as well, the second available opportunity in 10th position. So let's put a pin in that one. Lie 10th position when they came down pit road. Let's see where they come out on the circuit, and let's see if they can make any inroads to the drivers that are ahead of them. As several cars now, David, start to throw it down pit road and onto that mandatory 50 kilometres an hour speed limit.
So easy to pick up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well, and that is the last thing that you want. Dayne Warren's pace has dropped off, now doing 1:34.1s, which is still about 4/10 faster than anybody else has ever done on the circuit here. It's just frightening, the consistency that the pace of Dayne Warren is. It's just unbelievable. 12 seconds ahead of Ryan Houlihan. However, Houlihan now coming under increased pressure from Avila Bahar there for that battle for second place, just 7/10 of a second. We remember that we saw the McLaren of Houlihan pulling away a little bit, but it does look like that gap coming back down. So I may be eating my words whether or not Avila Bahar can actually take that second place.
Yeah, this is going to be a fascinating fight. No doubt a bit of strategy involved there. As we'll look at Dayne Warren now in the VRS Coanda house as well. You see teammate and probably race engineer in the background there as well. Warren, nice Sunday drive for him, crossing up on the steering, just keeping it within just about track limits. So just keep it nice and calm, Dayne. 13 seconds to the good. Plenty of safety net to the chasing pipe. Beautiful shot as well, by the way, that we see on screen there. Terry Rayton, Laundry House in the Mercedes number 85, 11th. Comes down pit road. So remember, we've seen a few of the front runners starting to come down early, but the majority of the field, as we've seen in previous races, are leaving it to the end of the window in order to make their stop. And this is the bit I really find fascinating. There's always a dramatic change when the window closes, and let's see who has made the right decision coming in early and who is leaving it to the end and gambling. And if I was Avila Bahar now, I would be thinking about doing something different, because he's had nearly half of the race following the back of Ryan Houlihan. Do something different, throw the dice and see where that shakes out at the end.
Oh, I don't know about that, Paul. He's 3/10 faster on that last lap round was Avila Bahar. This might be the car starting to come to life, and the closer that he can get to Ryan Houlihan, the more pressure, and possibly try and force Ryan into making a bit of a mistake here. So maybe if it was like 2 laps ago, then I would be very tempted for Avila to pit. But right now, I think the momentum is with that third place car right now. This is starting to get a little bit spicy. We're just halfway there. You go, Avila into the pits then, and we've got the halfway point of the race, Paul.
Yep, halfway point of the race, halfway point of the season, halfway point of the pit window, and our race leader, Dayne Warren, jumps down pit lane. Avila Bahar jumps down pit lane as well. A drive-through penalty for Yin Ho in 12th position. Skylay that we're looking at on screen at the moment in the Zuva Revolt Racing Team number 127. This is the driver that pitted early in the proceedings. So let's see where they recover to, but plenty of drama. Mia Rose in pit lane as well. Kevin Huang in pit lane 2. So Houlihan inherits the lead. He will lose that, of course, when he jumps down pit road, but this is where the drama starts to kick in. Luis Moreno has himself a 5-second time penalty as well. So it's all happening, and we have got 29 minutes left on the clock as Ryan Houlihan takes over the race lead, albeit temporarily.
Yeah, he'll be absolutely delighted with that. I'm sure there'll be some screenshots going on right now for Ryan Houlihan. He'll be fairly happy. Look, in any other race, Paul, the pace that Ryan Houlihan had would be just exceptional. But it's unfortunate for him that Dayne Warren is in this race as well. Dayne is in a league of his own right now, as we see another penalty here, incident on lap 4 involving cars 21 and 45. It's 5-second penalty for car 21 for aggressive driving. That is, of course, Louis Moreno in the 21, and 45 is Krankrai Shotima. So that is the second incident involving that number 45 of Krankrai Shotima in that BMW M6. So race controller, they'll be keeping his number on speed dial, I'm pretty sure.
It never rains, but it pours sometimes for racing drivers. Now, let's have a look. Ryan Houlihan's come down pit road. He was second position, 10 seconds, 12 seconds even, in arrears of our race leader. And fortunately for Dayne Warren, he's actually come out into clear air. So Avia Bahar, that we're looking at on the left-hand side of the screen, this is the fight for position. Bahar stopped a lap earlier. He needs to push, does Avila now, to try and get as much ground covered as possible. Ryan Houlihan will be coming out of the pit lane. His tyres will be a little bit cooler, but still hot. He'll not have changed tyres. He's only put in the 1 litre of mandatory fuel, and let's see, this is going to be close. Houlihan now crawling down pit lane on the speed limiter. He'll be looking for that pit lane speed limit sign just about now. He'll start to accelerate and get back up to racing speed. The pit lane joins the racetrack at the end of the first chicane. So Ryan Houlihan, 8th position on track. His teammate just behind him has been overtaken by Bahar, but Houlihan takes that position. Lawrenson loses a place to the chasing Bahar, and that worked out for Ryan Houlihan very well indeed. Thank you very much. That's the position and quite a bit of real estate for good measure as well.
Yeah, that was a brilliant bit of strategy there from Ryan Houlihan. However, I'm more interested in what's happened to Dayne Warren. That was a very, very slow stop from our former race leader. He will go back up once the pit stops are there. That's about 7 seconds that he lost at least on that pit stop there. I mean, he's in the luxurious position, of course, that he can afford to lose that time there. But I'd be very interested to see what happened on that pit stop for the VRS Coanda Simsport driver. Again, leaves him in the 7.5 second gap range ahead of Ryan Houlihan, but yeah, it's not exactly the kind of pit stop you want there.
And that is exactly why you build that cushion, isn't it? We said that at the beginning of the show. It's very VRS Coanda. Get into the front, pull away, build yourself a safety net, give yourself a little bit of a comfort blanket if anything goes wrong, which is exactly what happened to Dayne Warren. This losing, as I say, 7 seconds, 59 seconds on pit road in total. But he's got that gap. He's got that safety net, exactly what he needs. So Dayne Warren will wash back out again in the race lead. The question on everybody's lips is who's going to be second, third, fourth and fifth. Andika Rama Maulana was running 4th position. He's just serving his pit stop and getting back up to racing speed now. So let's see where Andika returns to the racetrack. We've only got 44 seconds of the pit window remaining, so anybody who's not stopped, which is Yin Ho down in 21st position, is down pit road as we speak. So everybody's starting to filter back out. Things are starting to get a bit clearer. We'll give the timing screen a few moments to just gather itself and its composure back together again and find out who is where. But we've got some big winners and losers, I think, out of this one. Andika Rama Maulana, 3rd position. So Bahar, it's all gone wrong. Loses a place and loses a remarkable amount of time to Ryan Houlihan in 2nd as well.
Yeah, under a lot of pressure from Andrew Lawrenson as well. I think that fight's going to go on. But look at this little battle just behind them as well. This is a cracking little fight for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th place in there. We see a couple of drive-through penalties further down the order. In 15th place, Duong and Fai Sheng. That is our first of the night for track limits. As Avila Bahar gets contact left, right and centre. That was up the inside of Rama Maulana, and Lawrenson have absolutely mugged him right there. And I've got to be honest, that was an incident of his own making there, overdriving the car, pushing a little bit too hard on colder tyres, and there was only one way, Paul, that was going to end, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. Avila Bahar obviously under a little bit of pressure after losing so much time during the pit window. In fact, David was quite fortunate that he managed to bounce his car back in the right direction, courtesy of the Laundry House driver. So Bahar did lose position, did get involved in contact, may have attracted a bit of damage, but he lives to fight another day. And now Andika Rama Maulana, Legion of Racers, third position, got Andrew Lawrenson for company, an aggressive, a frustrated Avila Bahar in fifth place just behind, and then Lai Pratima, Aslan and Yim not a million miles away as well. So Andika Rama Maulana is very much the cork in the bottle of this race with 23 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock. Can the Legion of Racers driver do enough to hold on to this podium position, or will the inevitable chasing pack start to put him under yet more pressure as Kayo Yim, that we're looking at in 9th place now for the Pacello 9's e-Motorsport, holds on to 9th place just about from the chasing Huang and Dylan Woods in 11th.
What an epic little section of the race this is. Now Bahar's going to have to watch himself right now because he is absolutely furious. The aggression is massively high. He needs to just settle down, let the old adrenaline and the testosterone calm itself down a little bit, because that's when you start making rash and silly decisions there. But he has, and he looks like he's settling back down. He needs to keep on to the back of Andrew Lawrenson and Rama Maulana. But if I'm honest, Rama Maulana looks like he's under real pressure right now from Andrew Lawrenson. But what a fantastic recovery drive it's been from the 889 Legion of Racers driver of Andika Rama Maulana, down in 10th place at the very early stages of this race, getting himself back up and into 3rd place, that final step on the podium with just 22 minutes left to go. He has got all of the ace cards right now for that little battle, but again having to watch out track limits. We see another victim there. That's the number 18 this time of Moreno Pratama in the Audi 4 Legion of Racers, getting a drive-through penalty there. And wow, I mean, it's been an awesome race, but I have got this gut feeling that these 20 minutes are going to be absolutely explosive.
Oh yes, there is plenty of drama still to be served up by this race, and there's a good opportunity to say hello to everybody watching at home. If you're enjoying this, then the SRO Esports Championship also hosts races in the European Series for Sprint and Endurance, the Americas, and of course the Asia Series that you're watching today. So make sure you stay tuned to the GT World YouTube channel. Give us a like and a subscribe to never miss any of the drama. We're seemingly on air every minute of every day with different and equally as dramatic racing activity. The next time we're in the Asia Series will be on the 23rd of September for the Spa-Francorchamps Round 4, so that will be an absolute cracker as well, I'm sure, as Nakib Aslan now 8th position. Great recovery drive from Aslan. We've seen two cars from Yim and Hong going side by side into T1 behind, not quite enough room to pull that one off, but the Malaysian driver here for Axel Sports in the Bentley Continental doing a great job. He will know that Pratama ahead has a drive-through penalty, but that's not going to stop him going down the inside. Aslan on the brakes, gets the inside line, enough racing room is given to him by Pratama, and Nazik Aslan pulls off an outstanding overtaking manoeuvre, and his reward is 7th position. And now he needs to make hay while the sun shines, although not realistically shining, and try and close down Skyline ahead, as meanwhile Pratama losing positions left, right and centre. That is Yim and Hong moving past, and Aslan, a bit of good, a bit of bad. Great move, but have yourself a 5-second time penalty as well. What a shame.
Oh, goodness me. That is a penalty for cars 29 and 86. That is, of course, the 29 of Dafa Nabiel and the 86 of Wesley Chang for ERE Speed Virtual Racing Team. That is a 15-second penalty. We've got an instant there for Aslam, the cars 17 and 60. That's Sean Madison and Nakib Aslan. 5-second penalty for aggressive driving, and we've not seen too much of that through the race just now, but it just shows you when your tempers flare, you will be picked up on it, Paul, and you will be punished for it.
And that is bad news for Aslan, because look how close he is to the rivals behind us. Pratama now comes to serve that drive-through penalty, so Aslan has a lot of work to do. He needs to start putting a gap between himself and his immediate rivals, and he's got 3 seconds clean air before he gets up to the back of Sky Lee in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So Aslan needs to get a bit of a shake on as we're looking now at Andrew Lawrenson, and this is once again Dylan Tan. So remember, Dylan Tan at the start of the race got involved in a little bit of fisticuffs into the second turn, dropped himself down the order. He's now on the recovery, 13th position, trying to make that 12th position from Madison ahead. So still a bit of work to do for Dylan Tan to get himself into the points paying positions, but 18 and 19 just under minutes left on the clock. It's not against the realms of possibility that Dylan Tan can recover a points paying position, but compared to where he started this race, could be nothing other than absolute disaster for one of the most consistent drivers that we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, disaster really is the key word there, Paul. He was, if you remember, just behind Mia Rose. In fact, got past Mia Rose, and then just before the pit stop was down about 7 positions. So obviously coming into another issue there for Dylan Tan. And yeah, I mean, this is one of the races that he is going to want to forget. Another incident then, another penalty incident on lap 7 involving car 72 and 168. The 72 is Sayaka Takuma, and the 168 is of course Lachlan Nichols for Gen Z Racing. 5-second penalty for car 72, so Sayaka Takuma getting a 5-second penalty there. And again, consistency here from race control there, but in all intents and purposes, it's been a very, very quiet race for them. Given that we've had 43 cars, Paul, it's been fantastic to watch this.
I think I'll go out on a limb and suggest this is probably the cleanest racing in real or virtual terms I've ever seen in Misano. I expected this many competitive, hungry drivers, this close a field on this tight of a circuit would serve up more than its fair share of accidents and off tracks and contacts. But fair play to all our drivers. They continue to learn in the Asia Series. They continue to build their experience, refine their skill set, and we've seen some great driving throughout the field as Terry Rayton in 22nd gets himself a drive-through penalty. So the number 85 Mercedes AMG Laundry House car, Terry Rayton, drive-through penalty to be served within the next 3 laps. But it's been another subdued performance from Rayton in that number 85, and no doubt he'll have a bit of head scratching to do as to why his stablemate teammates in the Laundry House operation are fighting for the top 5 and he's just outside the top 20. We know he's a very fast driver, so do expect Terry Rayton to come back again before the season concludes on the 14th of October at Suzuka in round 5. But Avila Bahar, he's a man that's been under a lot of pressure all race, and now he's giving some of that back, isn't he? Andrew Lawrenson is very much watching his mirrors in the last 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah, Andrew's dropped off the back of Rama Maulana into his own little battle. But have a look at the 127 of Sky Lee keeping pace with these two as well. Could be on the cards for getting a cheeky little 4th position there, and this is a nice little battle. Just wanted to echo your sentiments of the driving ability and the driving standards here. We've seen a remarkably clean race, and just brilliant to see that these drivers are all getting an equal opportunity at the sort of world stage here on the SRO GT World Challenge Asia Esports Championship with Fanatec. It's brilliant to see, and I'll be honest with you, every single one of these drivers has done themselves proud today.
Oh, absolutely. We said again, didn't we, at the top of the show, that it's great to see the Asia region getting the prestige and getting the attention that the drivers so deserve through this SRO Championship. And again, they put it on an absolutely fabulous show, and I am certain that a number of the drivers that we're looking at today will go on to make a name for themselves in wider esport racing in general. And the Asia Series just continues to go from strength to strength. Now Avila Bahar that we're looking at has made that overtaking manoeuvre on Lawrenson. That has also opened up an opportunity as well for Sky Lee and the Lamborghini to sneak his way through. So Andrew Lawrenson went out without paying attention and got mugged for 2 positions, and that is a big drama for the Australian Laundry House driver. Lawrenson now back on his tiptoes in the Porsche, get a big run out of the final corner. He fancies his chances against Sky Lee in the Lamborghini, but not quite enough of a braking zone into the first part of the right-hander into T1. Tries to get a smooth run through the second part. There's a short straight they're about to approach now. This will be a good opportunity, but the Lamborghini is slippery in a straight line. The Porsche does not have what it takes on the brakes, but that does not stop Lawrenson shows his nose at the inside. Good driving from the Lamborghini to give him enough race determined to wrestle this position back. The Lamborghini under all the pressure in the world. Great driving from both drivers. The 911 now in the slipstream, shows his nose at the inside, decides better of it, tries to get a good run through the hairpin. Skyline will be wise to what's happening now, runs a little bit wide on corner exit. The rear engine Porsche getting a good push through the corner. Can he find a way past this Lamborghini? These are two proper sports car brands fighting for track position, and Andrew Lawrenson will not believe he has conceded 2 places in one corner, and he'll be very keen to make amends on this one with just 13 minutes and 55 seconds left on the clock. David, this is a man that has got a bit to prove in the last few minutes of this race, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's going to be absolutely kicking himself that he allowed that to happen. I think that was just a little bit pressure from Bahar behind him, forced him a little bit wide into the corner, and of course Bahar will take that any day of the week when it's handed on a silver platter to him. But Skyline, very opportunistic, saw the position there, fired the car up the inside and managed to get the car stopped in time, and absolutely why not? If the position's there, you go for it. And Andrew Lawrenson, and again, this is where it comes into play, Paul, the exhaustion, the intensity that VR hand you on a sim like Assetto Corsa Competizione. I can absolutely guarantee you Andrew is sweating bucket loads in that VR headset right now as he moves up the inside. The Lamborghini tries to block the move. There's a little bit of contact, and this is what I love to see, Paul. Both of them very, very respectful there. You saw both of them letting off of the accelerator there as they tried to maintain that position out of respect for the other one there, and Lawrenson saying, no, I'm going to make this move, but I'm going to make it fair and square, and the Lamborghini tries to keep him out, but that Porsche barges its way through. That is epic, epic racing, and this is GT3 racing at its finest.
Touring car style contact side by side, but now Skyline is not given up on this position in the Lamborghini. He takes a long way round the outside of the corner. That will turn into the outside for the next turn as well. Lawrenson knows he's in prime position to defend his place if he possibly can. Who's going to be the latest and the bravest on the brakes? Lawrenson on the inside, the Lamborghini on the outside. Runs out of racetrack. Can he close the door in time? Yes, he can. Sensational stuff. Absolutely sensational, but he runs a little bit wide. Side contact. Lawrenson retakes the position, and these two are driving absolutely exceptional lines. Racecraft, respect, fairness. What a phenomenal piece of racing. I almost fell off my chair. I have knocked my drink onto the floor, but luckily it's avoided all the electrical things, and that was drama at its absolute height. Fabulous, just fabulous from both of those drivers to pull those moves off.
Yeah, that was epic, epic stuff. And look, for those that aren't familiar with the Assetto Corsa Competizione, the level of car control, the level of ability, you have to be able to have the confidence to do that with another car beside you is off the chart. Epic racing, fair racing, and determined racing from both Andrew Lawrenson and Skyline there. I think we need to rename Andrew to Andrew Jason Plato Lawrenson after that one. That was a worthy touring car manoeuvre there, but they're going to have to watch out because look at Nikib Aslan there in the Bentley. He's now, with all their little fighting, he's been brought into this, and he's going to fancy a piece of the action as well. And how much cost has this done to Andrew Lawrenson, because that was some real pushing and real intensity that he put onto the tyres there. Is Lawrenson going to be consumed with this in the last 10 minutes left to go? Because it's a mistake under pressure that put him in that position. Is he going to find that again? So we see Kushweng Huang under pressure there, or sorry, putting the pressure on the number 9 machine of Kyo Yim in that McLaren. We said that 10 minutes ago. I said, I had the feeling that this is all building up to an incredible finish, and my goodness me, have we had that, Paul.
Oh, we have indeed, and also buying into this fight now is Nikib Aslan that we're looking at on board. Don't forget Nikib carrying a 5-second time penalty that will be applied to his race time at the checkered flag in just 10 minutes time. But Aslan, courtesy of the fighting that these two cars were doing ahead, has made up a 3.2 second deficit in just 3 laps. So Aslan, we know, has got the speed. We know he needs to get a shimmy on if he's going to try and consolidate his position, because at the moment 5 seconds is not quite enough, as Madison just gets a drive-through penalty popping on screen in 12th position. So Aslan's in a difficult spot now. Will he has to really force his way past these two cars, but they're embroiled in their own little battle, their own little fight for the tarmac, and the two-way drama has now turned into a three-way fight for this fifth position on the racetrack. And one man who will be incredibly grateful for all of this is Andika Rama Maulana in third place. He's now managed to gap the chasing pack by to the tune of 3.5 seconds. So Rama Maulana, Ryan Houlihan in second, and Dayne Warren in race leader, pretty much barring dramas consolidating that podium place. But the real excitement is who's going to make up the rest of the points playing places in the top 10, as Nigel Chua in 21st position has a little nibble at the bike of Takuma's Aston Martin ahead.
Tell you what, it might be a bit too soon to say that, but after all that epic battling, I think British GT could be taking a leaf or two out of these books here after Donington. Amazing racing, amazing respect that we've seen all through the field here, and again, it is brilliant because as a competitor, you're not short of anybody to fight with, but we're seeing drive-throughs left, right and centre. I can only presume, therefore, track limits. We can see the 118 of Kushuang Huang getting a drive-through there. We've also see that is Madison in the number 60, Sean Madison for HPD Jazz Pro Asia getting a drive-through as well. And we said this, it's such a fast track, it's such a track where you need to take liberties, you need to push a little bit more than you really should here, and drivers getting punished for it left, right and centre. And we saw that earlier in the YouTube chat, a mention of pulling in Oprah, and the game does, it's the whole thing of you get a drive-through, everybody gets a drive-through almost at this point, but 7 minutes left to go, and we've been left with some thrilling action.
Yeah, you can't afford to leave any lap time on the racetrack or you will very quickly start going backwards. And Sky Lyons, I want to talk about him for a second in the number 127 Lamborghini. If is a very big word in a competition like this with 7.5 minutes on the clock. If he scores points, this will be the first time that we see the Lamborghini brand taking home points in the GT World Challenge Esports Asia Sprint Series. So a phenomenal performance, a car that doesn't necessarily suit the Misano World Circuit layout as well. Great performance from Sky Ly in this race so far, to be running in 6th position, to be harassing a driver the quality of Andrew Lawrenson as well in 5th place. No matter what happens now in the final 7 minutes, this is a driver that will be very satisfied with their day's work here at Misano, as we see Madison now jumping down pit road to serve that drive-through penalty for track limits, and Huang in 9th place also getting a drive-through penalty, so that will move Dylan Tan into 11th place, closer and closer to scoring a point after his first lap drama. So Dylan Tan will be doing everything he can to encourage people to go off the racetrack as much as possible, but I feel there's little he can do to influence that at this stage in the event.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at Dylan Tan's times actually, and I'm just thinking in the last 6 minutes, if he can make a push and get some time down, remembering that Huang has a drive-through penalty, and also Nakib Aslan has a 5-second penalty, so there is a distinct chance Dylan Tan can actually get that 10th place finish here. So it's definitely not over yet, but unfortunately he's put himself in the position where it just remains an outside possibility right now.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. It just goes to show, doesn't it, that he's never ever over until the checkered flag has waved, and sometimes even a little bit after the checkered flag as well if they've got some penalties. We're looking at Mia Rose for Jean Lacey Esports recovering well so far in 11th position in the number 909. So Mia Rose having a quiet but effective drive so far. She can see Woods ahead of her in the AMG Mercedes as Huang now comes down pit lane, serves that drive-through penalty. That moves Mia Rose up into a 10th position and into the points. So yeah, it's never over. You just got to keep pushing. You've got to see there's setups involved as well, just to give everybody at home a bit of insight. You can set up the car how it suits your driving style, and often, not always, but often that means the car is either one of two things: fast at the beginning or fast at the end. If your car's set up to be fast at the end, you've looked after your tyres. Suddenly you can find the pace proposition is much different, and you've got a car in which you can fight people in cars that have got more tyre wear, that have not got the speed of you have. So Mia Rose, for example, 10th position, if her car's geared up to be fast at the end of the stint, she's got a very good opportunity to find a way past Woods as well. So he's never over. Wait till the checkered flag waves and then see where it all shakes out. But the key is keep pushing.
As someone who lasts an average of 8 minutes in these races, I'm thoroughly jealous of the ability to have that choice of being able to make a car fast at the beginning or fast at the end. My car just usually goes fast into the nearest wall. So yeah, it's fantastic to see that the strategy is part of these races, Paul. And the drivers will spend weeks preparing for all eventualities. They'll be looking against who they're racing. They'll be looking at, the qualifying times going in and how that matches up against their own pace as well. Because remember, for some of these drivers qualifying through that open qualifier format where they put their lap times in well in advance, it's one thing being fast on a leaderboard, but to be able to race in a pack as well. And we were discussing that off air as well. It's a baptism of fire for some of these drivers, and it's a wonderful way of getting the ability, getting the skill, and learning on the job, as it were. And I said this again about 20 minutes ago, but all of these drivers involved here today, they've been an absolute credit to their teams and to themselves.
Yep, absolutely. Brilliant stuff from each and every one of our drivers. None more so than Dayne Warren, who we've seen, as always, absolutely nothing of this race because he's basically converted third position on the grid, which was a little bit disappointing for the VRS Coanda driver, into an early race lead and just stroked it home to the checkered flag. 16 and a half seconds ahead of Ryan Houlihan at this moment in time with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock. And that's including a longer than average, 7 seconds longer to be precise, than average pit stop. So Warren in a class of one at the front of the field, but thankfully for the championship, Andika Rama Maulana managing at the moment to run in the podium spot. So the championship's not over, but he's very much Dayne Warren's to lose. The skyline now gets a little bit of a love kiss from Nazik Aslam in 7th position. Line manages to keep the car pointed in the right direction, but Aslam wants to get his shift on. He wants to find a way past this Lamborghini now to try and do something about that 5-second time penalty he'll be added. And Skyline, very intelligent driving, very wise, recognises this is the case and moves over and lets him take the position. That is intelligent driving from Skyline there in 7th.
It's so difficult to do as well, because obviously it is the intelligent thing to do. He did the absolute right thing. He's not fighting him for position because he's got the Aslan has got the 5-second penalty. But Paul, you know this yourself. Seeing another car on the track passing you, you get this little bit inside of you that goes, I need to get past you. I need to. Yes. It feels so wrong. It's this guttural feeling. So yeah, 3,000 IQ drive there from from Skylight to let him past, and yeah, recognising the bigger picture here. A minute and a half to go. He'll take that position and then some after the checkered flag falls. Interested to see Keo Yim there driving without his headphones on. I'd be interested to see if the speakers are on in his setup there, because I don't know about you, but I rely an awful lot on the engine noise to help, with the shifts, the upshifts and the downshifts there. And it makes me all sorts of twitchy watching that picture-in-picture there.
Yeah, that is another, unfortunately, very graphic example of why these drivers are better than I will ever wish to be. Because even with all the tools at my disposal, I wouldn't be able to run at this pace. And as you're right, if Kyo Yim is not using the headphones to their full capacity, that would be another element. Because sim racing, of course, you've not got the force feedback, you've not got the feeling in your backside, so you have to rely on all the elements possible, such as your force feedback through your wheel, the sound that you get through your headphones, the visuals on your monitor, and to take one of those elements away is that's going to make life a little bit harder. So great drive from him to retain that point scoring position. And Skyline now dropping a little bit further away from Aslan, as we expect to be. Doesn't care, because that's not really his problem for track position. He's more interested in the Chasing Yim 1.1 in arrears.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic effort here. We saw a brief yellow flag there. I do feel bad for Dayne Warren and VRS Coanda Simsport sponsors right now, because it's been an epic drive for him, and we've barely seen him all race. But obviously our job is to make for an exciting and entertaining broadcast, and we've had 42 other cars knocking lumps out of each other, but it has been an epic day for Dayne Warren.
Yeah, it really has. Dayne Warren, VRS Coanda Simsport, flashes his lights, comes round the final corner and takes the checkered flag for his third victory in 3 races in the GT World Challenge Esports Asia Sprint Series. A dominant performance from the Australian driver, never looked in doubt for a minute after that fabulous start to take the race lead. Ryan Houlihan does a perfect job for second position for Laundry House, and Andika Rama Maulana converts 10th on the grid to the final place on the rostrum in a powerful drive for the Legion of Racers Ferrari man. Avila Bahar does phenomenal work in the JMX Phantom McLaren, number 24 to cross the line in 4th position. Andrew Lawrenson finally finishes in P5 for the sister Laundry House car to Ryan Houlihan in 5th place for the 911. Nazik Aslan crosses the line in 6th position, but we'll see where that shakes out after the 5-second penalty has been served. Sky Lai in the 127 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 works wonders to cross the line in 6th position. We're seeing now Ugo Osake just getting it all crossed up through the final corner to secure that 23rd position. But David Christie, I said to you both off air and on that the Asia SRO Esports Series always produces some great racing, and I wasn't wrong, was I?
You absolutely weren't. I feel kind of spoiled at that, because that was my first race with the SRO Asia Esports Championship, and what a race that was. Amazing stuff. Just here and there that Aslan drops to 10th place after his time penalty there, and that means that Fadhli Rachmat finishes outside the top 10. I mean, that was quite possibly pivotal to the championship right there. That means that Dayne Warren now moving towards the final couple of rounds, Paul, into a position where he literally has to DNF or score outside the points for Rachmat or Maulana to have a chance at taking the title.
Yeah, Dayne Warren's put himself in the power seat for sure with that position performance. 3 races, 3 wins, 75 points on the board. It does not get better than that for the VRS Coanda Simsport team and Warren in the Bentley Continental GT3. And as you say, with drivers such as Fadhli Rachmat and Nabik Aslan having a difficult time in terms of their overall point score, and Andika Rama Maulana, he was only on 28 points coming into this weekend. He'll take 15 for 3rd position. It's looking good for Dayne Warren, and as we speak, I believe he's ready to talk to us. So straight from the cockpit, straight from his 3rd victory in a row, Dayne Warren, winner of the 3rd race of the SRO GT World Challenge Asia Esports Series. Congratulations to you, sir. Congratulations, Dayne. Great victory. Oh, not quite got Dayne in voice yet, so we'll just wait for a moment or two till he recovers his voice microphone. Dayne, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, we can hear you now. Congratulations, 3 races, 3 victories. That looked a little bit easy.
Yeah, surprisingly was. I still don't even know what happened off the start, but thanks to that, I think that pretty much guaranteed us the win from the start, really. I'm just really surprised. We sort of stuffed qualifying a little bit, and sort of ideally should have been off pole position, but this is about as ideal as it gets, I think.
Yeah, we saw that you had a little bit of a longer pit stop, about 7 seconds or so longer in pit lane than the average for this race. What was the story there?
I think I'm still used to another game in terms of pit stops, so still things to tidy up. I think it's just sort of the proximity thing. You need to be within the box, so the car goes up on the jack straight away. But besides that, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, the performance on track, we didn't see a single mistake or a wheel out of place from yourself, but were you surprised at the start to have made your way up into a lead almost immediately, and also the pace of Philippa Bakida in the early stages of the race that was looking to try and find a way past?
Yeah, I think Philippa is probably, I've expected her to be as quick as me. Obviously, we haven't really been able to tell in the race yet, so it's a bit of a shame that she keeps getting incidents, but I think if she were to sort of continue on after lap 1, I think it would have been quite an interesting race. But if that was the case.
Well, it's a healthy point score. Andika Rama Maulana, one of your rivals, managed to score a top 3 as well. And headed into Spa-Francorchamps, how comfortable and confident are you that you can repeat this performance and consolidate that lead?
Yeah, just interesting seeing who finished where, but as far as Spa goes, I'm not really sure how we'll do. I'm not sure if the Bentley's a particularly strong car at Spa, but I guess we'll just go in and see what happens. I think we got a pretty strong points lead now, so we'll just work with what we've got and see what happens.
Well, Dane, we've said this. You sound surprised at the end of every race when you win, and it always looks dominant. So 3 races, 3 victories, 75 points on the board. Congratulations for another phenomenal faultless performance here at Misano.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, Dane. And David, a great performance. And it's amazing, isn't it, to see just how calm and cool and collected he is after. I'd be euphoric and bouncing around, but he's just, yep, done my job, done it well. Move on, next job.
And that's exactly it. It's quite obvious from the signs of that it's just another day at the office for Dane to be able to do that. It's fairly late as well for the guys over in Australia as well, and like a brilliant effort. And I don't think that there's going to be any hiding the fact that he is delighted with that. But you know, when you're at that level, Paul, for VRS Coanda Simsport, this is kind of what they expect from their drivers, and he'll be involved in numerous other championships as well. So I've got no doubt that this is just another day at the office and another win. Yeah,
and another great performance. And David, obviously you've said already this is your first engagement in the Asia Series of the SRO Esports World. Can I just ask you for a few just final thoughts on the quality of drivers and the level of ability that's been on display today?
It's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. The closeness of the race and the respect, the ferocity of the racing, the fact they're side by side, door handle to door handle. But for me, overall, the fact that the drivers know when the move is done. They know that, you know, I see it in other championships where they just don't take no for an answer, and there's bigger picture work going on here. That's what most impressed me from today. Amazing stuff. Sets it up for Suzuka in a couple of months' time amazingly well. So privileged to be asked to be part of this, Paul, and it's been fantastic being on board.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate alongside Mr. David Christie today, and as we can see on the screen, Suzuka, 18th of September is the next race, but of course we're back again tomorrow for the EU Sprint Series at Zandvoort in 8 o'clock in the evening BST, so please do come along and join us for that one, everybody at home. Thank you so much, everybody in broadcast direction, race control to SimGrid, AK Esports, Kuno Simulazione, Pirelli, AWS, Fanatec, and of course SRO as well. It has been an absolute pleasure and another great race, and thank you for joining us. Until next time, from David and myself, Paul Jeffrey, take care. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.